Hello everyone and welcome to the Book Refuge. Today it's my favorite video to make every month. It is my June wrap up. And I had a pretty steady June. Nothing phenomenal, but I had a really great time. I read some good things and I read some stinkers. So before I jump into that, if you like bookish content, I put up new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Please go ahead and subscribe to my channel and hit the bell if you'd like to be notified when I upload. So let's get the stinkers out of the way. I had 2 DNFs. I rarely DNF because I usually don't pick up books that I don't want to read. Sometimes that can't be avoided, and sometimes I just make really horrible mistakes, and so it's time to DNF. So let's get started with the worst of that. First, I want to show The Flame and the Flower by Kathleen Woodwise. This is considered the first ever bodice ripper book. So I wanted to read it because I love historical fiction. I love a little bit of saucy romance. This seemed like it'd be really fun. I knew I would probably in for some cringy situations just because, you know, romance has improved, and Regency and historical romances nowadays are written with a lot more modern twist. So even though they will take place back in time, usually characters are a little more progressive. This was a straight up rape fantasy, and I say that with the full weight of what that means. This woman is, oh my gosh, sorry guys, I'm having flashbacks reading it. So this woman, Heather, she is about to be assaulted by her stepmother's brother. He gets her away from home by luring her with promises of a good match, and he really is going to turn her into a prostitute. So she stabs him and runs away, only to be mistaken for a prostitute, picked up by 2 sailors who bring her back to their boss, the captain, Captain Brandon, and he then proceeds to rape her, thinking that she's a prostitute and that she's pretending not to want it. And then when she explains that no, she actually was a virgin, he says, well, I guess you have to be my mistress now, and he continues to have sex with her even though she doesn't want to, because he says, you need someone to protect you, so I'm gonna do it. Then I stopped. I got 120 pages in, and I flipped ahead to see that, yeah, these 2 people end up in love with each other, and I'm done with that trash fire. I'll probably give Kathleen Woodwise a chance with maybe some of her later novels. I did foolishly buy 4 of them at one time, so I'm going to try some of her other series to see if it got better. I will admit, though, that when I was in high school, I read a series quite a bit like that, and I liked it at the time. I think it just comes with getting older and realizing that that's not healthy literature to be spreading to anyone. Next DNF was The Antidote by Shelley Sakier. This was really sad. I was really excited to read this. It looked really pretty. Here's the thing. I can't even explain to you logically what was happening in this story. So as far as I know, half of the kingdom has this plague where they need to take their antidote every day or it will overwhelm them. The other half of the kingdom has been staying away for a period of 10 years, and now it's time for them to come back. But the one group still needs to take their antidote every day. One of the girls who helps make the antidote, she was friends with both of the princes. One of the princes, the one that she has stayed back with, she's in love with him, but she's actually betrothed to marry the younger prince. Don't know why a potion maker is engaged to a prince, or how. They never really explain how she knew them, or why a kingdom would allow her to. I don't understand. And I got almost halfway into this story, and it was so confusing, and roles didn't make sense that I was like, why am I wasting my time with this? So I moved along. So those are DNFs. I don't rate my DNFs on Goodreads because I don't think that it's fair, but I would have given them both 1 stars if I did rate. So moving along to happier things. I didn't have anything below 3.5 stars after those. Next, I read Genesis by Brendan Reichs. This is the second in the Nemesis trilogy. I read Nemesis like 2 months ago, maybe. This is very complicated to explain without spoilers. Needless to say, I am intrigued enough to continue, but I gave this 3.5 stars. I really like a couple of the characters, but the situation is very interesting. It kind of is like kids living in a video game meets Lord of the Flies meets post-apocalyptic. I was going to DNF this a few different times, but I held on mostly because my sister wanted to know what happened. And then there was a huge cliffhanger that I'm very excited to see where that goes. Like, I'm into it enough. So I still have to give this 3.5 stars because the story just doesn't quite make sense and things get really convenient and then they're not and then they are, and it just was all too much. But I am going to read Chrysalis because they got me. The cliffhanger was still really good. So 3.5 stars for this one. Then astute viewers will notice that I just put this book on my July TBR, but I couldn't wait and I read it basically in one day because it's a graphic novel. And I read Why, The Last Man by Brian K. Vaughan, Pierre Guerrera, and Jose Marzan Jr. This is about a man named Yurik who, in 2002, every man, every boy, every mammal with a Y chromosome everyone on Earth suddenly collapses and dies. They vomit blood and they die, except for Yorick Brown and his pet male monkey. And so this was told very intriguingly. That's a word I just made up. I had a really fun time reading it and I will continue, but as of now, I haven't connected to any one character within the story yet. So that's why it's a 3.5 stars, because the story was interesting, but it was easy to put it down because I didn't feel the stakes. And granted, I still read it in 2 days because it's not long, but with Saga, I binged that entire series in 48 hours. So the fact that I was able to put this down whenever I needed to, it just kind of says it all for me. But it was really interesting. The artwork was just kind of normal. It wasn't bad. It didn't astound me. But I'm going to keep going, I think. So 3.5 stars for that one as well. Moving up, I had 2 4-star reads. The first one I read was Beautiful Stranger by Christina Loren. I gave this 4 stars. It is the second book in the Beautiful Bastard series. This was their original fan fiction that they had done before they started doing kind of more easily accessible novels. This one is about Sarah, who her ex-fiance cheated on her, and she runs into Max at a club, and they discover together that they like to have voyeuristic encounters together. They were really cute. It was fun. I like seeing the characters from the previous novel. This is a series I plan to continue, albeit slowly. I just read it when I feel like one of them. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's smut. It's fun. It had a little bit of kinky in it. I had a great time with it. So that's why I got 4 stars. I rate my romance novels almost 100% on enjoyment. As I rate a lot of things, but really romance novels, that's what it's about for me. Then I read Hunted by Megan Spooner. This was my viewer's choice for me to read in June, and I really enjoyed it. It was a really interesting tale on Beauty and the Beast, as well as Ivan and the Wolf, which is cool. I'm also really excited because that reminded me a lot of The Bear and the Nightingale, so that's really cool. But yeah, in this version, our main character's name, her name is Yeva, and she thinks this beast killed her father, and he kidnaps her and chains her in a dungeon and needs her to hunt for him. And she needs to hunt this certain being for him that he won't tell her what it is, but he needs her to hunt it. And he thinks that she's the best hunter that he could find. And yeah, that's enough of the setup. So my main issue with this is that I didn't feel the connection between the two of them strongly enough. Also, he was a very cruel beast, and for me, I know I'm going into it that it'll be usually an abusive type of situation in the beginning. That's okay. That's not an ender for me. However, the ways in which he was mean, chaining her up and being really rude and mean to her, it was just a little too much for me. And so when it was time for it to swing back the other way, it was difficult. And this is a conversation, I had this conversation with Murphy about like what is too much for her. You know, for me, it's just really about how complex you make that beast and how much I can feel his pain so that when he's being cruel to her and lashing out, I can feel the reasoning behind it. And I just didn't see that for him. And the resolution was just it was magical. Magical resolutions are cool. But maybe it's because I don't understand the folklore that it's based off of as much, because this isn't just based on Beauty and the Beast. But I don't know. All in all, like, it was still really enjoyable. Once I sat down to read it, I finished it very quickly. And I'm excited to read Sherwood by Megan Spooner, her take on the Robin Hood tale. So this was fun. I'm glad you guys picked this one. It was great. Next, I have two 4.5 stars. The first one is Shadow and Flame by Mindy Arnett. I'll be filming a dedicated review for this very soon. I just have to organize my notes, and then, like, it's so hard for me to think of what to say, especially about a sequel, and not to give spoilers to you. So this is continuing the story of Kate and Corwin. Kate in the previous novel... Okay, this is set in the blurb of the first novel, so I won't spoil that. She has certain sway over people's minds, and this is a wilder trait is what it's called, and a lot of people have different powers, different affinities for the different elements, or so there's the 4 elements that they can have an affinity for, or they can have like mind control abilities as well. So there's like 5 different powers you can have. But yeah, so the reason it's a 4.5 almost completely stems from the fact for me that the relationship didn't get as much focus in this as I wanted it to. And the reason I say that is because in the first one, I thought it was built very cleverly and well, and it was a slow burn, but the characters had history with each other already, so you slowly got a glimpse into that, and I really loved that. And in this one, because of certain things happening, we didn't get that enough. And so that was really the only drag for me. But it's still a 4.5. I loved the action. I loved what actually happened in the story. It was intense. I was gasping. I actually annotated this one. And there was times where I was like gasping out loud. I had such a great time. I was on the street team for this series, and I had such a great time. So yeah, 4.5 stars. The first one is Onyx and Ivory. Keep an eye out for my, I'll do a review and then a spoiler talk for this book, because I did for the first one and I want to continue. So then I finally finished last night The Dragon Reborn. I was reading this the entire month of June, but I don't hate on myself for that. These are big books and they need to be digested appropriately. So I will be starting the next book. I might take a break in July and then pick up the next one, but we'll see, because this was so good. I will probably go back on that and start The Shadow Rising. There's not much I can say about these. This is the 3rd book in the Wheel of Time. I continue to love Nynaeve, Moraine, Lan, and starting to like Egwene a little more, and Perrin. So that's what I'll say. If you've read these, you'll know who I am and who those are and what I mean. For the rest of you, I understand being intimidated by the Wheel of Time. It is a lot of books, and the first 2 start out pretty slowly, and a lot of people aren't willing to commit into that. But I think you'd be missing out on something amazing, and you know, I'm hoping when the TV show comes out that the last holdouts will give in. But they could be like Game of Thrones and Outlander, where they're like, the show is enough for me, I don't need it. But this was 4.5 stars for me. I loved it. I can't wait for the next one, and I am fully committed to this series. I have up through book 10 now, and I think I just have to read one more book, and then I get to read the prequel, and I'm excited about it. All right. Now I have 3 5 stars. First 5-star this month was East by Edith Witow. This is a reread, a millionth reread. I am buddy reading this with Murphy. Murphy still hasn't quite finished hers yet, but I couldn't wait. I had to devour it right away. This is about a girl named Rose. It's a retelling of East of the Sun, West of the Moon, which is also kind of like a Beauty and the Beast retelling. One of her sisters gets sick, and a big white polar bear shows up and says that he can heal her sister and make her family wealthy if she will go and stay with him. And she agrees. And this book takes place over, it takes place over like 18 years, but mostly it takes place over like 3 years. And it's a middle grade fantasy. It's a really easy read. Rose is one of my favorite characters. She was never rivaled until I read I read the Remnant Chronicles, and Leah rivals her a little for me, but Rose is brave, and she is kind, and she is smart, and she owns up to her mistakes. She learns from them, and she'll do whatever it takes to make things right. So I love this series. So many of my friends have read it because I suggested it to you. Thank you so much. And spread the love. This book is beautiful. It's great. So 5 stars. It's funny that my 5 stars are all like rereads / like from my favorite series. So it's funny. I also reread Demelza on audio this time. This is the second in the Poldark series. This is a historical fiction. It is about a family called the Poldarks, and this one focuses mostly on Ross Poldark's new wife, Demelza, as they start a family together, and all the ups and downs that are happening in Cornwall at this time. This one is this takes place, I think, over like 1889 and 1890. Also, we get introduced to one of my favorite characters, Dr. Dwight Ennis. Oh, he's one of my favorites. I forgot how like cute and sweet he was and innocent he was in the beginning before he started making mistakes, and I love him. This was 5 stars. I love this series. If you love historical fiction, historical drama, romance, the UK, it's amazing. It really follows history of what's going on, as well as then like this family, and they're fictional, but everyone else is real. And then finally, my last 5-star thing is a novella, and that is Memento by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I got this for pre-ordering Aurora Rising. It was 82 pages, and it still managed to stab me in my heart. This is about Aiden, and it starts, I think, 15 days and then goes through the event at Carenza 4. This is so cool. I know a lot of you might not get to read this because it only got released if you pre-ordered Aurora Rising. So let me know if you'd maybe like me to review it. I could do a spoiler review for it if you want. Because, you know, I love you all, but I'm not sending this copy to anybody. I just can't. And it's too many pages to take a picture of every single one. But it's all the Illuminate goodness. It was totally worth everything, the pain. And Aiden is just as psychopathic as always, but it was really great. So that is everything I read in the month of June. I had a great time. I mean, I'm super excited for July, where I'm just going to read whatever I want. I made that TBR, and I'm, like I said, going to try to read a few of those, but otherwise I'm just going crazy, and I can't wait. So thank you so much for watching. I make new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you can see some more of those videos right now.